Welcome to another episode of Free Lunch, Free Food for Your Soul. It's your boy, The Real Free. And shout out to our sponsors this season, Dobie Revolution Orthodontics, the rebrand. I love it, Dr. Dobie. Keep doing your thing, man. Actually, and they just landed a sponsorship or partnership. I'm not sure if I got the language right, but with the Olympic skateboard team, actually. Wow. So shout out to Dobie Revolutions. Make sure you guys check the description or the link in the description of this episode. Shout out to my man, Track Major Productions, greatest producer in the Northeast, one of the greatest. For all you indie artists out there looking for your next sound, shout out to Pure White Lens Photography and Frii Branding LLC. The best version of your brand starts right here. Show them some love on the links in the description, y'all. So I got my man again, Mr. Smash himself. You guys seen him before. And I love having authentic conversation. You guys know that. And so we don't really have a run with the script, but typically when you start to find what we call in the culture, quote unquote, at least in the creative arts culture space, your tribe, you know what I mean? It's some of those conversations that are kind of really happening in the heads of all of us. Some of the sort of ups and downs, the challenges, the triumphs, the revelations, they're really kind of happening to us all. So if you can get in on one of those conversations or share it with someone else like-minded, that's what we love the most here on the Free Lunch Podcast. So thank you. Shout out to you, bro, for having me or having the time, taking the time to come back again. Dude. Appreciate it.
There's not enough producers in this area. Everybody wants to consume, but nobody wants to produce anything. So you need trailblazers like yourself to do what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, the last time you were on the show, we were at the old place.
Yep.
So I was talking a little bit about that off camera. And I was explaining about the just the discomfort that comes with like trying to grow, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, we really don't fully understand the gravity of always what that means. We kind of get it, those of us who are really about that life and about that change, we get it in a general sense, but there's certain, I think, stages and plateaus we break through at some point where we like start to really get taken back and go like, wow, this is what this means. Yeah. Or the growth happens really faster than what we expect.
Facts.
Right? So I've had like probably 4 evolutions at the old studio.
Okay.
Probably 5, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Always like upgrading. I know from the time I entered that studio to the time I left, we went from 4 different types of microphones. I went from a $25 a microphone. No, actually, the first mics we started out with were $10.
Yeah, but you're unsure now.
They were $10. And then we got $50 microphones.
Yep.
Then I was hyped when we got these $100 microphones.
Yep.
And then we got the $500 microphones. Then we got the microphones in front of us weren't enough. So then we got the $400 overhead microphones.
Yep.
See it. And then we started with the iPhone. I think you were on an iPhone episode.
We were on an iPhone episode.
We were.
You had the iPhone on
I had
tripod.
the iPhone rig connected to the Rodecaster.
You did.
And then we went from the iPhone to these like Logitech cameras they had or whatever they came out with. Then we had a different kind of like Canon we started with. Then we upgraded the Canon. Then we started upgrading furniture. And this was all in like a year and a half time. And so for many of us like who are like that, trying to go speed, a year and a half is actually kind of slow. Like to some that might be like, wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
But for us, some of us, it's like that probably wasn't even quick enough. Like we wanted to be there yesterday.
When you're in it, you're in it. It goes by slow until your hindsight. You're like, yo, man.
Until you look back. Yeah.
Those 2 years went by fast.
So I think now I feel the intensity of like all the fast that you were like maybe wishing for or wanting, it happening upon you. And like just the discomfort that can come with that, the like jarring effect, like kind of like if like, you take off on some of those roller coasters at an amusement park, right? Where you go literally from like a stop position and it like takes you off, right? It's jolting like that, right? And like it takes a minute to kind of get your bearing back and be like, wow, what's happening? But that's what this felt like. Like I had the stuff situated at the old space, kind of that worked for me, and I was comfortable. And then the environment and things around started to become uncomfortable. And I think for me, that's the way I one of the ways I think like God speaks to me. Like I think it transcends the like natural and like spiritually, God knows that I want growth.
Yeah.
And that's my like sort of like prayer request. But then we don't always know how that's going to get answered.
Truth.
And like, so I know the last I talked to you were on the show.
Yep.
You had some things in the work. Have you felt any jolting growth since the last time you were on the show? Or has it all kind of still been gradual?
It's all been gradual, but I think my life is only discomfort. But I also thrive in chaos. I mean, I think you might.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, last time.
Yeah. I don't like being complacent. If there's not something to grow and like work towards, I don't want to do it. That's why corporate America is not for me. It's like that whole like Groundhog Day, going with the flow kind of thing. No, I need to like be in my own element and just go.
Does it matter what's the thing that there is to grow towards? I
need to be passionate about it, and I also need to have a goal. Like, for example, if I'm running like politics, right? Great example. When someone asks me to lead or to take over, I can't say no. It's like just not in my brain. Even if it's an uphill battle, like we're in New Haven, so New Haven's 12-1 Democrat Republican. It's unwinnable as a Republican. So why would you go into
that entices you more?
That entices me more. I'm the person that's like, hey, if Dana White and the UFC called me tomorrow and said, hey, Steve, I need you to fight this kid making his debut. Hey, Steve, I need you to fight the champion. Let's go. I'll do it tomorrow, because like
that's crazy.
The feeling of going after something that's unattainable
in quotes
is beautiful. There's something beautiful about it. And if you're not going after something that seems unattainable, what's the point of doing it? Then that's how my mindset works. Other people don't, and that's fine.
And is that every area of your life, or is that just like
every
career?
area? I'm not putting my foot over that line unless I know I'm going through the shit. Like I have to.
I've seen like on social media lately, you're going through it with this whole like fasting thing.
Yeah, that's another great example, because fasting, you're going through it. I mean,
dude, you've been like posting some crazy like experiments. I'm like, what?
Anything that requires like an insane amount of mental fortitude is something about it. I think it's just the wrestling mentality, because wrestling is always every day is a fight. You're cutting weight. When I was fighting, it was cutting 30 pounds in 8 weeks. Like there's something about that mental fortitude that I love. And there were a couple of fights where I didn't cut any weight. I would fight at 170 instead of 155. I didn't feel mentally there. I'm like, man, I didn't go through.
Because you didn't go through.
I didn't go through like I'm going to die in the sauna trying to drop 10 pounds in 3 hours. And not going through those trials and tribulations, it just doesn't feel the same. Even though you're going through the same outcome, I'm still going to the cage and fighting someone.
Yeah.
But the mental
journey to the cage.
The journey to the cage is different. I need that journey. I need to feel like I'm not supposed to win. I got to battle for it.
I'm always looking for the title of the episode during the conversation. Yeah. The journey to the cage.
I
love that, man.
Life isn't easy, and you have two paths. You can either, and you're on the same path, you can either affect people or infect people. I want to like affect people all the time. I want to like be a beacon of hope and give people inspiration. And don't be a victim, you're a victor. Everyone is a victor. But most people don't have the mental fortitude to have that mentality. Yeah. It's easier to blame and deflect than to be like, yo, let me be accountable. Let me go after it and let me figure it out. Because nobody wants to fail.
Listen.
Everyone's scared to fail. How many people told you, dude, why are you doing this podcast? Why are you wasting your time? You ain't gonna make it.
Don't you want your cop job back?
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying, but that's how people think.
Don't you miss it?
Yeah. I'm not about that way.
All that easy private duty money.
Right? Seriously.
Dude, that mess was so easy. Gosh. But you're right. It's some of those things, it's like how they say you're a glutton for pain. I've heard it worded that way. Like I don't know about physical pain, that's it. But it is something in the subconscious mind, I think, of us that just is driven to like, man, what? I bet you somebody said, I probably think I can't do that. you know what, I'm gonna do it anyway, just because people think I can't do it or because it's not possible. I'm gonna do it anyway.
How I roll.
Yeah,
100%.
And I felt that way with the even I had a close relative of mine just before the fall semester that just passed, because then I entered grad school again, at Johns Hopkins University. So no walk in the park in the least.
No.
Right. So I'm now. It was to get the graduate degree in marketing, and then I switched to communications. And so this relative was like, I was telling him, the plan. I'm like, listen, I'm in the studio like 6, sometimes 7 days a week, all day. Most of the daytime, I'm really kind of doing what I would call, as a creative, the busy work side of the job. Like, I'm doing editing. I'm just sitting at a computer. I'd rather be actually recording something, doing something in action. But, the nature of the job, I got to edit at some point.
The things that people don't see.
Yeah.
The hardest part of the job, actually.
So in the daytime, I'm doing that. And then when the editing's done and it's still daytime, I have my 1-year-old. Yeah. So I'm like, I can't really always take in a client in the daytime. Right. So I'm like, now in my mind, it's like empty space. So I'm like, I think I'm going to just make use of the space and go back to school. I'm going to do that. And they're like, but you're running the business, you're running the baby, having the baby all day. And then you sure you want to throw school on top of that? And I'm just like, I think so. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, that's really ambitious. That's, and I'm just like, maybe, but I think it's doable. So I get here to the bigger studio, and we have some other challenges. It wasn't this beautified, the floor and stuff when we came in here. Yeah. So I laid this floor myself, by the way. Wow.
Okay. All right.
4:00 in the morning days, because every day that the studio wasn't up and running is a missed day of wages for me. Yeah. Like, this is how I live. This is not the side gig anymore, right? So I'm like, I got to get the floor done. I'm back and forth to Lowe's probably freaking 6 times in 2 days. And then now there's this challenge I then hit again, where, because the baby's getting older, she's like 1.5 years now. She's that much more robust and active. Yeah. She has a lot of space. She can still run around in here, but she's just not as quiet. And I'm like, where I used to be able to sneak in a 15-minute podcast episode by myself, while she would just be chilling, quiet. She'd be awake, but she'd just be staring at me. Yep. She's like, nah, man, she's trying to get these words out. She's not quiet no more. So I'm like, I got to find a way around this. This is just another challenge. There is a way. Yep. I had to just figure it out. And it hit me 2 days ago, and I said, I have to get up at 5 a.m. The baby's still asleep. The wife is still asleep. Yep. The whole house is still asleep. Yep. I'll just get up at 5 a.m., jump in the car, come down the road, come here, record, hurry up, get back in time to get the kids off to school. And then me and the baby will come back, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. Nothing happens. I've already would have gotten my content creation that I need to get recording stuff out the way. And then during the day with the baby, I'll be editing it. Yep. Whatever I recorded at, 5, 6 a.m. Yep. And that sucks. Happy to get up at 5, 6 a.m. Truth. I love my sleep, just like the next person. But that was the challenge, and having to do what's necessary to get the outcome. Because in my mind, there's no choice. Some people call it motivation, but for me, I think I end up calling it, I don't know if there's a word that's been invented yet in the dictionary for it, but in other words, I call it have to. Maybe people call that motivation, but I call it I have to. And the way my brain is wired, there's no other alternative. Yep. So maybe it's all made up in my head. Maybe I actually don't have to. Maybe that's the secret, the irony. True, but in my mind, I must. Yeah. There's no other option. So I must overcome what's in front of me, challenge. The option is just go, well, man, baby's more active in the daytime. I guess you just won't get any recording done in the daytime. You just have to do it on the weekend, I guess. No, the weekend's not sufficient. I need to have something that I can get out daily or every other day, to not record anything all week for my job. But this is my employment. Like that's unacceptable.
Yeah, for sure.
At least for the degree of excellency, right? And I'm not going to do anything unless I'm going to achieve excellency, right?
That's how I feel.
I mean, I guess once or twice a week would be okay for the average person, but not for excellence.
Well, because you could literally, in all honesty, you could have a whole list of all your talking points.
Yeah.
You literally do it in one day.
You could with a full day.
With a full day.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, because understand consistency is what matters. So it's almost like, let me go one day hard and in 6 days I don't. It literally puts you backwards every single time. And that's like, for example, Jake Paul. So the first time I actually kind of liked Jake Paul was when I saw a YouTube video when it was like he was in like fight camp, his first fight, I think it was.
Yeah.
He said, and they asked him, he said, what's harder, fight camp for boxing or YouTube? And he said, dude, YouTube. He said, I shot a video every single day for like 900 days or something. I was like, holy shit, excuse my language, because even for me, just to post a reel every single day is a lot of work mentally. People don't think that that's difficult, but it actually is very difficult to be consistent with it.
Yeah.
And nobody is. That's why nobody moves the needle.
Yeah. Well, you know what I think what makes it difficult, other than it being objectively difficult, it is truly. I think the more dynamic of a personality you are, that's why it's difficult. It's because you're not. That's 90% of the time probably not the only thing you do.
Truth.
That's why.
Yeah.
Right. So that makes it difficult. It's because your mind, while you might be setting up the camera, the lights, and microphone to do that one thing, your brain is literally like fantasizing and working out the plans for 3 other things that you're going to get to today or want to. And so that's what I call it being. It's a challenge of being dynamic that people love to admire in us from a distance, but you don't know the both like gift and curse it is internally. Like,
well, that's what being a creator is.
You're
always creator. You're always creating shit. You're like, oh, you have a podcast. I can go this avenue, this avenue, this avenue, this avenue. How do I stay focused on one? Which is almost impossible because you're literally an artist.
Exactly.
The artist starts painting and he's like going all these different directions that the paint is taking them. Same thing happens in the digital world, I guess you could say. This creative space.
So you said earlier that you didn't have, or correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't have any that since the last time. I think it's probably been at least 8 months or a year. I don't know. I think it's been a while.
I know this is gonna sound crazy. It's been 2 years.
That's insane.
Because the last time I was here, we talked about me running for Senate briefly.
Oh, okay. All right.
And right now it's the new Senate cycle.
Wow.
Now, so maybe it was like almost 2 years. So it was right before the election.
So since then, I asked you, have you had any jolting growth moments?
Yeah.
And then, or I said, has it all just been gradual for you?
Yeah.
With the things, multiple things you're in.
Very.
You said it's pretty much just been all kind of gradual.
It's gradual as far as growth. So, for example, since then.
And when I say growth, let me sort of qualify that a little bit more. Not necessarily growth in how big maybe one particular thing is, but growth as far as maybe even headway or the progress of something from start to finish.
Yeah, progress has definitely changed a lot.
Okay.
The biggest one would be we're building a sportsplex in Clinton. I don't know if I touched on that the last time. So we had just started it the summer of 2022.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if we had already met yet, but we're building a 250,000 square foot sportsplex in Clinton, Connecticut. It's the old Unilever building. Exit 63, the same exit as Clinton Crossings.
So that's like broke ground already?
Yeah. So the building's already there.
Okay.
It was an old massive manufacturing plant. So we're converting into a sportsplex, which will have 2 indoor soccer fields, 14 batting lanes, 18 pickleball courts, a 15,000 square foot gym, a restaurant brewery called The Links with 10 virtual golf simulators, 10 storefronts for all different people that will come, like Froyo, or we got a cheerleading organization that's coming out of Madison, and then we're building property around it, so residential units.
So, I mean, what's the ETA for that?
So this is the worst part about real estate development is the amount of red tape that's involved through the whole process.
The whole process.
Our goal was to be open last summer, and then that got pushed to November 1st. Then it was December 21st. Then it was March 1st, which now we're March 1st. And now it's looking like fall. So
that's not because like construction stuff has to still be done.
No,
that's all done.
That's done. That's done.
Oh man, I gotta go see this place then.
Because every single time you're doing something new, it's a new permit or a new red tape. So it's okay. So big facility. Okay, now we have to make sure that you have enough septic for 30 bathrooms. So you do the septic, then you do the environmental cleanup, and that's done. Then now you're applying for a new permit for the next phase. Maybe it's the roof is leaking, so we got to fix the roof. So you're really dealing with.
I mean, I agree. We should fix the roof before we open.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, and every time it rains, it's just dripping. So but you're taking a building that was built in like 1928 or the late 1920s. So
I mean, so there's that. Was there anything else that you actually had
that's the biggest
in the works? Projects you're working on?
I have a gym in Milford. I think that was already done, but I'm going to convert. Obviously, Clinton's going to be my full one because the one in Clinton is. I'm sorry, the one in Milford is a 4,000 square foot box, like CrossFit, more semi-private training. This gym that's in Clinton is going to be a big, massive gym, like a powerhouse.
What's the Milford location called?
Smash HQ.
Oh, Smash HQ. Okay. And what type of training is that? Just
semi-private. So I would say CrossFit.
Okay.
So very class oriented. You have your intervals and you go through the program.
I love it. And that's the gist. And in the midst of all that, you're still
Sportsplex and then politics again.
You're still husband and dadding.
Husband. Dad is number one.
Yeah, I love the dad game, man.
You know something? So
my son just became a teenager this past November.
Man,
so
my son's 10.
13. Mom checked his phone and found some
shit.
A girl was texting him,
Okay, all right.
And it wasn't even really nothing crazy. Just mom just realized it was a girl, and she freaked out all about it.
Okay.
And she came to me, and I was like, she goes, I'm not ready. And I said, you're not ready for what? And she's like, I was looking through Xavier's phone, and I'm just not ready. I said, well, how about the next time you get the urge to look through our son's phone, you tell me, and then I'll go look through his phone.
Yeah, fair.
Right?
Fair.
Because, maybe just as mom, you won't ever really be ready. Yeah. So you should just let me just be kind of a buffer.
She can't relate the same
as
you.
I said, just let me be a buffer, and then I can report back to you. Yeah. Like a filtered version that's digestible for moms.
Perfect.
And I'll mitigate whatever fires or really worrisome, threatening thing needs to be addressed, right? Yeah. So I said, just let me be your buffer, But I'm that's messing with her. I was like, that's what you get for peeking through his phone.
Yeah, for sure. You'll always find something if you're searching. You're gonna find something you don't like.
And your kid is 10. Your son.
10. So with him, he just hit that stride of competitive wrestling, competitive soccer. So my life right now is after school. So freedom of schedule is the most important thing for me right now. I realized that he's 10. 10 to 18 is all I got, and he's gone.
That's it.
So I wrestled my whole life. I know what it takes to be a good wrestler because it's such a commitment. It's like no other sport on the planet.
Yeah.
So he has wrestling 4 days a week. I drive to Ansonia from the other side of the Q Bridge during rush hour 4 days a week. It takes them almost 50 minutes to go to the best wrestling team in the state. I'm all in to the point now where hey, will you assistant coach? Will you help out? I'm like,
will you assistant
coach? If I'm going to sit on the bench, I may as well be on the mat where I love.
You might as you're there.
Since
you're there.
My son loves it. And I just came to this epiphany. Where's the camera? This is where men fail the most. Men are so busy on their own purpose, their own hunts, that they put that over quality time with their kids when Your child doesn't care how much money you have. They don't care about the car you drive. A kid doesn't generally care if they live in a 1,000 square foot house or a 5,000 square foot house. They don't know the difference. But a kid knows that if you're there, they know. And it's such a small window, dude. By the time my kid's 18, it's gone. I'm going to be like, damn, I should have did A, B, and C. So my schedule right now is I pick him up from school. I sit with him at a table at homework at 3 o'clock. I bring him to every practice, which is fucking 5 days a week between soccer and wrestling. And I've got to the point where it's almost like, I want to say stay-at-home dad kind of thing, but I'm definitely a present father. I'm not the dad who's successful that's like, hey, I got to work 80 hours a week. I got to provide for my family. No, your kid doesn't care about that. Your kid wants your time. And that's where parents fail. You got parents that are like, I want my kid to go to college. I want my kid to get straight A's. But what are you doing as a parent to ensure he gets straight A's? Are you sitting with at a table every day when he comes home from school to make sure he understands his math and spelling? Or are you just hoping and praying that he does understand on his own? Because kids don't. They're not going to.
Yeah. We're hoping and praying most of the time.
Hoping and praying. And that's where a lot of families in America fail. I watch a lot of because I'm in wrestling and soccer, all the Mexican families and Asian families, the immigrants coming over here. They're different. They're living the new American dream where they understand education is a neutralizer. So they're with their kids every day, making sure they get straight A's so they can progress in the future. Whereas American families, disrespect like black culture is very about sports entertainment, which is a beautiful thing too, where education isn't first. Education isn't cool in the hood. If you're smart and getting straight A's, you're a herb or you're a scrub or you're ostracized, you're a nerd. When in fact, that's the only neutralizer that you have as a kid when you get to college. Like if you live in the inner city and you're a minority and you get a 4.0 in high school, you're probably going to get a scholarship in college. If not, at worst, you'll go to community college for free. And then get a 4.0 in community college. Then you go to 4-year college for free. But nobody wants to put in that work.
But I think what you said was like crazy profound, that the sacrifice of the parents' dream or what they're chasing to find the necessary time to pour into the kid. That's really, really difficult, dude.
It's very difficult.
Like that. And I think
goosebumps is so difficult.
Yeah, no, really. Like that really hit me as well. Like just listening to you. Cause I try to, keep myself in a headspace where I can always receive something when it's timely and when it's worth being received, so I don't ever get that bullheaded or stubborn. And that really jarred me in so many ways because I am that, right? And so when you're that parent that is driven, right? You are goal driven. You are still a hub of tons of vision still, right?
But you're hunting.
And then you have but then you have that kid. It's hard to find the balance between that hunt that's still very necessary for you as the father to do, but still without forgetting your son. But this is why too, if you think back, in tribes, past or even still present now in Africa, right? That's why it's like a rites of passage. Even the young boy goes on the hunt with the father, right? So it's not like even leaving you behind, but it's like, hey, let me show you this principle of hunting together. And so that's what I kind of like think about when you talk about your time with your kid and going with them wrestling is like, what that takes. And so not only are you still on the hunt yourself, but you're also escorting him to his hunt. In a sense, right? So it's like
escorting him to his hunt is so true.
Right? So it's like I don't have to like put, my hunt away, but let them become a part of the principle of hunting. So that now so now it doesn't sort of end in just you being this successful father who's hunted and captured and yay, me. And then now you watch your child grow up to not know how to hunt, not know how to chase, not know how to be passionate and motivated, or about their dreams and goals, you take them with you. And that's what's been, I'll admit it. Everybody knows I'm transparent on the show. I'll admit that that's been like the challenge for me. It's trying to find and figure out how to show that principle and not leave them behind. Like, how can I graft them in somehow? And I think at least for me personally, you could, maybe share what, if any, part of that is challenging for you. But for me, I think my son particularly, he's so different from me, his personality. Yeah. Whereas my girls are more like me.
I remember this conversation. Yeah, you told me.
Right.
That.
So my girls, like all the things that I'm passionate, that I'm on the hunt for, they are. So it would be like really easy to graft them in to like this principle of like hunt. Right. Yeah. But I'm like, I need my man child to kind of catch this. Yeah. So like, where can I kind of meet him at a plane where it's like, we can have that. So I think the more different or varied, maybe the personality is, with your child, that it might make it more challenging, but.
No, it definitely does. I'm fortunate that my son has always looked up to me because.
Or is he like literally mini you? Like, is he really personality wise?
Personality wise, absolutely. How do I say this? Not sounding like, I want to sound humble when I say this. Like, when I grew up, my dad was the dad. Not like hands-on. He was not hands-on. Mm-hmm. Love him to death. He never told me he loved me, but he taught me like respect and admiration and discipline. He was structured. He was old school. It wasn't like, I love you and affectionate. That was mom's job.
Yeah.
So I look at my father and I'm like, he was such a pillar of strength. But if you want to be the perfect father, it's be the father you wish you had as a kid. So it's, let me take all the values my father instilled in me that I love. Let me make sure I do the things that he didn't do as well. So my dad wasn't very hands-on. So let me make sure I'm very hands-on with my son. But I'm also fortunate that my son looks up to me where I'm the strongest dad in his class. No one's gonna mess with Jax's dad. I'm the fighter. I'm the cool one. So he looks up to me that way. He sees like the acknowledgement in what happens when you have that, not prestige, but like that aura.
Yeah.
So he emulates. He wants to be that. So he sees what I do. He sees I still work out. He sees I'm still fit, and all the other fathers aren't fit.
Yeah.
He's like, Dad, I want to be like you. What do I have to do?
All the other dads have given up.
Yeah, which is what happens. I don't want to like make the other dads feel bad that they gave up, but life
bad if you gave up.
Yeah.
Maybe if you have a medical condition, I'll cut you a break. But if you actually just have given up, stop it.
But like life just gets in the way, bro. Like you have a kid, you got to work, you're tired, like you have to get time with your wife. There's so many things involved. When you get old, so I understand like the game changes. When you're in your 20s, you're working out because you want chicks. In your 40s, you're working out because you want to stay healthy. It's different.
You want to survive.
You want to survive.
You want to live.
So things change, but at the end of the day, and I even feel like this sometimes. Like I'm sitting at the table, I'm doing work on my computer, and my son's home, and he's like, Daddy, help me with this. And there's times where it's such an inconvenience in my head. I'm like, bro, stop talking. I got to finish what I'm doing. But then I'll get this thing. I'm like, wait a minute. My kid could like die next week. He's going to be out of this house in 8 years. Let me stop what I'm doing, pay attention to him, and get back to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The old me wasn't like that. The first 5 or 6 years, I wasn't a present father. I was the one hunting like crazy. My wife stayed at home and worked. I stayed at home while I worked. She had a great, that first 5-year bond, which I think every woman should do if you can afford it. Mm-hmm. But me and my son have gotten so close because of COVID. COVID was
you talked about that at the last
literally
episode,
changed everything because I was shut down and forced to be the second grade teacher at the time the school was shut down. Every day, 8 to 1 o'clock at the table. I developed a level of patience I didn't even know I had. Dude, when you're trying to teach your kid 2 + 2, when you're an adult, you're like, what do you mean you don't understand 2 + 2? This is ridiculous.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? You can't do 2 × 1? But over time, you like develop this like this repertoire with your kid that they start to understand it and you see the progress, then it becomes addicting. No different than getting more views on your reels or your stories.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I see the progress. Or with wrestling, we work out every day. Then he wins his last 2 wrestling tournaments. He sees the progress. Now he wants more. Or we're studying, and he just recently won the spelling bee in our school. So now he's going on to the state championships for the school. So he understands what happens if you work hard in like the outcome. Most kids don't get that opportunity because most parents are too much in their own shit. They don't want to.
It's tough,
literally
man.
is an inconvenience.
It really is tough
to work 10 hours a day and come home when you're tired, and then now I got to deal with my kids.
I mean, sometimes I think too a piece of it is, not even it being an inconvenience, but also this feeling of imagined or very real. Like I need to, or we as a family or a household, we need to survive. Like you're in survival mode. Always. And so survival, and at least in a lot of the Black community, that's the day's order.
Agreed.
Agreed. Let's just make sure we have shelter and enough money and hustle enough to make sure we eat and stay alive. Like make sure you're not over there hanging out. Like those are the things that matter most, and those are the things that are going to take up 95% of the day, the brain space. So there's not time for worrying about any extracurricular, worrying about any extra time, family time. There's no time. We just must get the bag as much as we can because we must survive.
Truth.
And as unfortunate as that is, I've been there. I'm a product of that, been born into that, have experienced that as an adult. I think at some point I made up in my mind when I left the police department, when I walked away from a 6-figure income with 3 kids at the time. Now I have 5, but with 3 kids, and everybody's going, why are you going to leave a 6-figure income when you got 3 mouths to feed? What was the deciding factor for me, and I think the same principle could be, applied here, is I'd rather have the time I want and perceive as necessary to be present with my kids mentally and emotionally for them. And if that means the worst case, the drastic thing that I feared that kept me at the police department longer than I even should have, if the worst case scenario in me choosing that means I live on the street in a box, if that's the worst case scenario, but I'm on the street in a box with my kids, and my kids have the happy dad, happy why? Not because we make 6 figures or because we have all our bills paid, but happy because what makes me most happy is that I have the mental space, the emotional space left at the end of the workday for you guys.
Yes, exactly.
And working at a place that I was no longer happy at was building up inside a spiritual suicide gradually. And going unchecked, those are the things that then lead to grave depression or, God forbid, down the road, you eating a bullet or something, right? So I consider myself a lucky one to be able to kind of have this light bulb go off before, I'm there 25 years, you leave there, then go to another place and work job another 20 years at your second police station after retirement. Like that's what the going culture is. It's like you go here, work this amount of years, retire, and then you go and do the same job somewhere else,
private sector.
And then it's like, but what time then is it really for your family, right? And that's the growing fear though that drives that, like to just get the bag. Is the fear is either survival or I have to feed all these people, and I'm going, and like you said, the kids don't matter how big the space is, how lavish this is. What they will remember though, when they're all grown up, is they're gonna remember, did I see you? Did I not see you? And that's what I can remember. And I tell my kids, I take that from my dad is, hey, granted, he may not have been all the lovey-dovey type dad, or kind of like how you explain your dad was, but the one thing I can remember is he was a hard worker. My dad worked double shifts, 16, 18, 20-hour days, many a days. And that's what I remember as a kid, is my dad working. Yeah. And as an adult myself, when I now first become a dad, that's my first definition of what a dad is or should do, is you should work, no matter how much it takes to provide. And worrying about the kid and time you have with it, that's last. That you don't have to worry about that. Yeah. What should be your focus is you need to work however much it takes, and the rest will take care of itself magically somehow. And we all know if you're a product of raising like that, that's not true. It doesn't all take care of itself.
No, not at all. I mean, think about it. One thing I'm not liking about 20. I mean, this last few years, it's like this gender war, right? It's like men versus women right now, which is absolute bullshit, because men do things incredible that women can't do, and women do things incredible that men can't do.
Yeah, we can't touch
each other's roles and just shut up and do your thing. But we're at this point where that's not normal. It's almost like, oh no, a woman can do everything. We don't need men anymore. Yeah. And I'm like, no, like a man can only teach a boy how to be a man. I don't care. I don't care how strong, independent woman you are. A woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. It just doesn't happen.
And I was raised by a strong, independent woman.
Me too.
So I respect.
Me too. My parents
all the moms out there who's trying to do it all yourself, and super respect.
Yeah, same.
But even my mom recognized then, and to this day, she tells me, I regret the time that you wasn't able to be with your dad, because I had no idea how to tell you anything about being a man in this world.
You can't. It's just
It's
like being a man. You're telling a girl how to be a woman. You can't. Like, I can tell you what to expect from men and what to watch out for. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what estrogen feels like. What those hormones feel like. A woman doesn't understand testosterone, what it does to a boy becoming a man. Like, there's like crazy shit we go through in our head. And women go through the same thing when they become girls and women. So like the 2-parent household is really important.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing we're going to against. I always say Nana generation had it right, and the generations now have it completely wrong.
What do you mean Nana generation?
Like my Nana, like grandma.
Oh, that generation. Okay, yeah.
I mean, both of my grandparents have passed away on my father's side, but they had it right. Mm-hmm. It was all about family values, go to school, get a good job. Whereas now it's a little different. Like, gender roles are all convoluted now. And
do you come from like a family background where like people like stayed married long or stayed together?
Yeah, I mean, both of my father.
Were you like a product of divorce or anything?
My parents got divorced when I was 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but both of their parents were married to the ends.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, do you think that plays any role on the way you sort of show up as, because you spoke to a little bit about how you show up as a dad and sort of why that is in parts of your that the dad you had as a kid. Yeah. With the kind of divorce thing for your parents growing up, how does that impact how you show up as a husband in your marriage?
Yeah, I know that I've been with my wife now. We've been together for 17 years.
Together 17.
Yeah, I'll be
married for.
Yeah, I've been married for 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be 6 in May. She's my ride or die, bro.
So like how they said that she was shooting with you in the gym. Yeah. She was back in the gym days.
She's with me. She's with me from the beginning.
In the mud.
She's the kind of woman who's like, I'll ride your coattails to the end. Just get there.
Just get there.
That's what women are supposed. Women are supposed to support their man, to uplift them and not compete with them. A lot of women now have this independent mindset.
Now that doesn't mean because literally as you were saying that, I could hear in my head the peanut gallery going, "Oh, so women ain't got no goals." So women,
no, women can. Dude, women can.
Hold on, so you mean that's the only woman's job? Is I'm gonna just sit here and just follow whatever you want to do, huh?
Yeah, it's so crazy. Women, if you were to say hey to a woman,
Steve's trying to get stuff canceled, y'all.
Because this whole independent movement and submissive rhetoric is crazy. Because so for example, I'm a man. I go to work and I kill myself. My wife doesn't work. Let's just say, I'm submitting my paycheck to you to support this family. I'm literally submitting everything. I'm out there working, grinding to submit to my family.
Yeah.
So when I come home, your submission to me is, I'm going to cook, not just for me, you're cooking for the family.
Yeah.
It's not just about me. Like,
it's almost like reciprocity.
Yeah, like I'm doing this, you're doing this
yeah.
to alleviate the stress on each other. Because, for example, if I'm a man, and let's say you're a man, you're single. Women aren't gonna like this one. If you do the math, so say most men, they just want a woman to take care of them, like where they can't. So they want to be nurtured, like their mom did. I want to be cooked for. I want the house to be clean.
I ain't your mama.
So if you're a man, you make $100,000 a year. Well, if I didn't want to cook, I could spend $600 a month and get meal prep sent to my house and never cook. I could spend
in the box.
In the box. I could
What's that company?
I could spend $100 to have someone come clean my home once a week. So $400 a month. I could spend $1,000 a month. House is clean. Food is cooked. Done. So now what?
$12,000. That's $12,000 a year.
Done. $12,000 off the top. So a woman, when she's like, I don't want to cook for you. I don't want to clean. I'm not a doormat. I'm not asking you to be a doormat. I'm going to grind and take care of you, but I need you to pick up the slack on the areas I don't want to spend time on. I don't want to come home and cook for an hour after working 12 hours. I don't want to have to like clean this and clean that. Don't get me wrong. Me and my wife will like every couple months, like we deep clean.
Yeah.
Like, I'm upstairs. I'm like dusting and Windexing and she's vacuuming. Like we do our thing, but there's still like the
reciprocity.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key missing ingredient for a lot of those, whether it's couples or individuals who would say, Steve, you sound ridiculous. It's because it's not many men out there willing to engage in the reciprocal nature of that. Right? Yeah. They're just on the ask side. Yeah. They're not like how you saying, look, I'll go out there, I'm working, and then I'll bring that back to you, and then, or whoever it is, right? Like, we could say, as, whether you call it, traditional man or traditional values, or, you call it old school value, whatever it is, you could say, hey, well, me, I feel as a man, it's my job to take care of my family. Same. You say, okay, I feel the same way. But even if it was reversed, right? Even in those relationships where people have where it's reversed, right? There's a stay-at-home dad and the mom is the breadwinner or whatever. There still needs to be reciprocity.
Always.
Like if I really think if we're just talking money, right? Or in provision, not like the emotional, mental stuff, right? That's gonna stay what it is. Yep. Like, so I don't care how poor or broke the guy is or how rich. By nature of him simply being a man, he knows stuff about being a man that the mom will never know, right?
Absolutely.
She can't go buy that, right? So if we're just talking about money and finances and provisions, it really can be either way, right? Of course. But what has to be present in all scenarios is the reciprocity for it to work. Otherwise, somebody leaves feeling like this is trash. Like the stay-home dad, like who says, you know what? I stay home. I take care of all the kids. I cook, honey, and you work, you make your whatever 7-figure salary, come home and but I can't get no Netflix and chill time, boo. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm like he feels disenchanted, like like he's getting done dirty. Like, hey, I did my part. All I'm asking is for some Netflix and chill, some warm me time. That's it.
Exactly. I'm with you.
So reciprocity is the secret.
With another R word to be like, you have to respect each other's roles. And most of the time...
Or respect, period.
Yeah, like most of the time, like the woman might not respect how hard he's working to provide, and maybe the man's not respecting how hard it is to raise a family. I mean...
That part.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
That's true.
As a man, it is way harder to take care of a house than to go out and hunt and grind. For me... Yeah. Maybe it's the testosterone, or
I think
it's just the nurture.
To me, I think
women are nurturers, so women like they're able to do that much easier. They have way more patience. They're built different.
My wife, I told her recently, I'm like, I tried like to help her out with like organization, like in the house, like with kids' schedules and like that kind of stuff. Even like with like the way she organizes our bills and things. I'm just like, I wish I had that. Just better. I I'm like, but I told her, I'm like, you know what? You go like this to me, go destroy.
Done.
Go that way. We need to go this way. I need you to accomplish this. I'm like, I will pursue and assault and bring back, retrieve. Like,
if you look at the top of, if you look at the top of any hierarchy, right, there's really two people at the top. Really, like the person who's leading and the person who's supporting at the top. So like CEO and COO, for example.
Yeah. President, vice president.
Yeah, exactly. Even better example. The vice president is normally more important than the president because that's the person who is keeping you accountable. They're the person that you talk to that reinforces what you have to say. So like as a man usually, I should say usually, always leads. A strong man should lead, and an amazing woman should support his lead and be almost like your 2.0. You know, like they're with you, they're side by side, they're giving you, you know, other intel and making you a better man and inspiring you, not competing with you. And the problem with a lot of relationships now in this independent women mentality is the woman is constantly competing with her man for the leadership of the household, but that doesn't make any sense. Two people cannot lead. You can't have two alphas, just like you can't have two betas. For a successful relationship or in any business, you need alpha, you need a beta. The beta understands the alpha's role. The alpha always goes to the beta for reinforcement. But that beta isn't afraid to tell the person that they're wrong. Hey, think about it like this. They're supportive.
I'll tell you what you really need is you need the alpha and omega. In your life. Yeah. But nah, that's, but you know what? I think that is, to be fair, I think, you know, a lot of the, and you could name a billion reasons why, right? And I think you're like me. The whys of history or past don't matter. I'm focused on what I'm gonna do about it now, type of thing. That's me. But you could say for at least for men, not many men, again, for their plethora of reasons, are willing to be all those things that you just said, right? True. And so for not always, but for many times, for the sake of that, it puts those women in those relationships, women who might, you know, want to have a sort of traditional relationship and, you know, want to have a, you know, marriage or relationship with their man that, you know, that they can, you know, let lead or whatever. Yeah. But these women, I think, you know, at least in Black culture, a lot, the complaint, you know, whether I hear from my wife's, you know, single girlfriend still is that the men they cross by are not willing to take on that responsibility, right? Yeah. And actually lead them. And they're saying, hey, I want to be led. Like, I want to find that relationship. Yeah. You know, that's what I believe in. That's, you know, maybe how I was raised, or that's what they saw their parents, you know, whatever. But, you know, so I will give some of, you know, these women, that, you know, is that, you know what, it's not entirely your fault either.
No, for sure. For sure.
But unfortunately we have a societal culture that kind of gives way to birthing, you know, I don't know, said it another way, but birthing more men to be like that, right? Where like it's okay to simply be mediocre, right?
Yes, agreed.
Like, you know, like I'm, you know, whether it was from being, you know, in past law enforcement or coming from a military family background or whatever, call it whatever it is, I don't know. But I had that mindset growing up, and now that it's like, you know, anything worth doing is worth overdoing.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely.
Like, what's the military ads on the back end of that? Moderation is for cowards.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so, you know, if it's worth it, hey, let's do it to the best of our ability. Let's do it with excellence, right? Let's not half do it, because we'll know if we have to, we'll still get a trophy.
Yeah. No participation trophies in my life.
You'll still get a trophy if you just half do it. And so that's what I'm trying to at least pour into even my son. Like, that was actually the last conversation we had. It was like, he said something about, I've been trying to work on him with his reading level, right? I'm like, yo, I want us to boost this reading level up, man. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I see how much, I put him on the Call of Duty, when I feel like, he was old enough. And we first started out with, I'm like, you could only play with dad, right? Because, if you've ever played any of those games out there, you know what online is like, and it's totally inappropriate.
My son plays Fortnite.
Yeah. So I was like, you can only play with me.
Like, yo, turn off that, take out your headphones. Let me hear what they're saying.
Yeah. So for a while, he would always come to me when he wants to play, like, Dad, can we play? And I'm like, now I got to find time in my schedule because I told him you can only play with me. So we did that for a while, but now, he really sucked. He really sucked in the beginning. Of course. And now this 13-year-old
can't keep up with him.
Will mop the floor with me several times before I can get a win.
Yep.
And I, again, talking about, getting his academics up, I reminded him of that. I said, you know why you beat the brakes off me now in Call of Duty? As I said, because you play that thing daily. You practice. Mm-hmm. That's what you commit to.
Exactly.
That's why you're that good. Yep. I go, you're so smart, Zay. Whatever you put your mind to, you'll have that same outcome. Yep. So I need you to care about your education more than I do. Yep. I care about it for you because you're my kid and I want to see you grow. I want to see you be successful. So, but at some point, like, you're a teenager now, next year you'll be in 9th grade, you'll be in high school. This has to start to transition where you care and it starts to become personalized. It becomes personal for you. You see where this is beneficial, where this is efficacious for you and your growth, your goals. Yeah. You want to be a firefighter. You're the only kid I've ever heard of that you want to be a firefighter and you tell me how you're going to be a police officer at the same time. First off, I don't even know if that's legal, if that's possible. But hey, I'm not going to be the one to kill your dream, bro.
Yeah,
seriously. You know what I mean? Maybe you'll be the first. Go for it. But if that's what you want to do, we have to have some certain academic things got to be strong, bro. You're not going to get into the fire department and on your resume put, I'm fantastic at Call of Duty.
Truth.
Okay?
Truth.
Like, so we got to get to it. And that's what's beautiful is like seeing those kids of ours, man, like seeing their potential, seeing where they're like outwitting even you, like at an early younger age or doing things better than you did when you were that age.
Oh, yeah.
I'm always bigging my kid up, man. Like my daughter, an artist, we like literally like a year ago now, it's probably been 2 years, I started watching her sketches and they were getting so phenomenal to the point. I told my wife, I said, give us a picture, both of us. Give us the same picture. I said, we need to have a sketch off. Like, we're going to both try to draw the same exact picture. Yep. And then we're going to put them side by side. And then we're going to bring them back to my wife and see if she could determine whose picture was what.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, when I tell you, at the time, she was only 12. She's 14 now. That picture looked so... My wife said she was only able to determine which one was mine. She said it was something about like how hard the lines look. Like, you know how if you're writing on white paper with a pencil, if you are pressing hard, if you look on the back, you could see the like, almost like embossed print. Like you could see somebody's making a hard line, a deep line rather than a softer line.
Yeah.
And she said something like to that effect. She's like, that's the only way I know that this is your dad's is because the lines are harder. But as far as proportions, details, I'm like, if I was as good as you are now when I was 12, forget about it. Yeah. I'm like, it's just insane. So that, those are the small ways where, again, just trying to even like pass the baton, like, again, going back to like, just like being a father, trying to show this, our son how to be a man,
What you're saying, like parents, I feel like parents don't believe in their kids enough. Like,
really? You think so?
Yeah, because our kids have so much potential. Like literally, you have kids in China that are doing calculus in like middle school. So you can't tell me that kids in America can't do the same thing, but we don't push our kids hard enough. It's almost like
the goals are different. I think. I think that's what it is. It's the cultural or societal and when I say societal, I don't mean world society, but that. The society that exists within our, sort of microcosm, of each of our countries.
I agree.
They kind of guide you towards what's necessary or what should be attained.
Yeah.
Right?
Like in sports, how about soccer is a great example. Look at the way soccer coaches are in America compared to soccer coaches in Europe. At the youth level, and youth sports here, it's like, let me not ruffle any feathers, let me not make a kid upset, let me not make the parents upset.
Because here in America, we got stuff like Department of Children and Families.
In Europe, Europe, your kids playing soccer, they don't play around. That's why they're so much better than us, because they don't play around.
Yeah.
Wrestling in Russia compared to wrestling in America.
Yeah.
It's just different mindset where these cultures push these kids. In America, we're literally the most talented country in the world with the least work ethic for our kids in the world. I don't understand how that is, but it never used to be like that.
Yeah.
I think it's something.
We got all the talent.
Something happened.
We got the lowest education scores, though.
Something happened along the lines where it was parents in America were like, we work so hard to get to where we are. We don't want our kids to work as hard as we did. We don't want to have to put them through that gauntlet.
Yeah.
So now we've softened our kids. When kids have so much unlimited potential, it's crazy.
But I don't think that's inherently like a bad feeling to have, right? As a parent directly. Like, I don't want to see my kid go through pain, right?
No,
or difficulty.
Agreed.
Right? But I think the response should be then to that emotion, and at least the one that I have, in fact, I've actually explained this to my wife in a really simplified way, is wife calls the house, whether it's me, my daughter, or my son, we're all in the house chilling or whatever on a weekend, let's say, and my wife went to the grocery store. She, like clockwork, she calls somebody's cell phone in the house and says, I'm pulling up outside, time to get the groceries.
My wife did that to me today.
All right. So now the whole house goes out. Mom comes inside the house. Whole rest of the house goes outside to the car to get stuff. For the longest, I always see my son, he will go and grab the lightest object or thing that he could find.
Yep.
And so one time I go, hey, Zay, nah, man, grab that case of waters. Grab those waters. The 24 pack, right? He goes, making all these groans and noises. I said, Zay. Hey, listen. The louder you groan doesn't make the waters any lighter. Okay? All right. So here's a technique. You could breathe in with your nose, breathe out with your mouth, have some actual concentrated intentional breaths, and maybe make sure you lift with your knees, right? Don't bend over at the back, right? So I gave him a little demo, right? And then I put the waters back down by the car, by the back door of the car. I'm like, come on, buddy. So he lifts it up. He gets maybe takes 6 steps. Then he's like, he drops the case, puts it back down, stops. And so my wife goes, she cuts in, moms being moms, because you love your babies,
Get it for him.
Babe, it's too heavy. He can't. And I said, babe, listen, this is how, for his father trying to raise a small little man inside, this is the way I safely synthesize life struggle. So you're right. If I could be successful and I don't want my kid to go through certain struggles that I had to do on the way to that, I will, but I cannot objectively take all struggle from their life. Yeah. I have to synthesize it somehow.
Perfect.
Because they still need to have birthed inside of them and developed in them the same thing I developed in me by way of more real or dangerous, life-threatening struggle. Yeah. I have to synthesize it. Same thing we did in law enforcement, same thing they do in the military is, hey, how do we get officers to know how to respond to real live fire situations? We have to synthesize real fire the best we can, but safely.
Yeah.
So that's when they came up with simunitions. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Simunitions is basically paintball, but with a real firearm.
Yep.
So essentially, little balls of soap pellets coming out of a real gun at the speed of a bullet.
Yeah.
So that's the one difference about paintball, which anyone who plays paintball knows paintball by itself hurts. Yes, but could you imagine paintball coming out at the speed of a bullet?
Yeah.
That part. Simunitions will make your adrenaline spike and your brain respond as if it was a real bullet.
Yeah.
And that's the training conditions perfect for preparing you for actual fire, gun involved situation.
War, yeah.
Right? So that's what I was doing. So then back to the waters, right, story, right? Because this is good. Feel free to take a page out of this book, guys.
I got something to say.
And so she goes, hey, babe, it's too heavy. He can only go but so many steps and he's got to stop. I said, and however many times he has to stop, that's okay. Yeah. What's the rush? We're not in any rush. Yeah. I'll come and take more trips back to the car to get the other lighter stuff. And then say, take your time, buddy. Yeah. Like, because we're not in a rush. The only thing you're in a rush to get back to in the house is get back on Call of Duty, on the game, right?
Exactly.
Take your time and do what's necessary to take this water. Now, this was like probably 3 years ago, right? At 13 years old, my son could snatch that 24-pack of water like nobody's business and walk it to the door.
Yep. Exactly.
That doesn't happen just by osmosis or just a light bulb goes off because he's age 13. No,
yeah, truth.
It comes from conditioning and planning for that to be the outcome.
Yeah, but even when you're telling him to get the water bottles when he couldn't do and he dropped it, if you're a real man, you hope that does happen. You hope that your kid will drop it, and then you get to have a learning moment like, yo, listen, just pick it up. We'll get it. And when he picks it up again and he gets it back into the house, he's going to feel a sense of worth because he completed the mission. When you go and you tell your kid,
know what I got to do? I got to soup him up when we finally get to the threshold.
Yeah.
He got that case in, and I was like, let's
go, baby.
Man.
Let's go.
And then I'm even pointing to his mom. I'm like, you see my boy?
See what I'm saying?
You was trying to say he couldn't do it. You see what he just did?
See? So what happens when you always bail your kid out of every situation? Then they never finish anything in the first place. So make them.
And imagine the kind of adult that gives birth to.
That's what I'm saying. Same page, my man. It's crazy because it's a lot easier. You save much more time by bailing your kid out and finishing for them than to take the 60 seconds you took to say, listen, this is the teaching moment. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Which will last forever.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to take the time because everyone's in a rush getting their shit done.
Yeah,
that's the problem with America in the first place. Everyone wants to get
this
their
case
shit
of
done.
water. Take your time and carry this case of water.
You know how many parents are like, forget it, don't worry about it. I'm just going to get it myself. I got it. But then what does your kid learn from that? Oh, if I don't do it, he'll bail me out. And that kid becomes an adult thinking the same thing.
That part.
That's the shit that drives me crazy.
I got a bailout coming if I can't do it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You can't do that to your kids.
That's nasty.
You're doing your kids a disservice by doing that.
That's nasty. Yeah. Well,
you already know.
Listen, you already know we could go on for hours, man. As we get to the end of this show, man, you got to give us some free food for the soul. Just like food edifies the body, man. We need that free lunch, something to leave the people with. Whether from something we already touched on or something entirely new, take your time, no rush. I always tell the guests, man, look, we could always edit out the pause, but I really want you to give the people what you want to be edifying for their soul as they go into their week, checking out this episode.
Dude, only level up. You have two paths in life, easy and hard. So like, hard roads become easy, easy roads become hard, right? You choose your hard. So I'll give you a great example. Because I said it on a podcast a couple weeks ago, so it's fresh in my mind. Use you as an example. You have two options. Number one, you have a 100-meter sprint, right? You go up against 10 senior citizens. What place you got to get?
First,
right? Let's say your time is 12 seconds. Okay? Now I tell you, now you got to run against 10 Olympic sprinters. What place you got to come?
Last.
Yes. But will your time be faster or slower?
Probably faster.
Why?
Because I knew I was up against 10 sprinters.
So you're forced to go faster and push harder.
Because I had no choice.
You had no choice. But most people won't step up to the plate. So I tell people, dude, you got to surround yourself with people that are way better than you. And that's what people don't do. Most people have this misconception like, oh, all these rich people, they hate us. Have you ever spent time with rich people? Have you ever left the hood and spent time in white communities to understand that, dude, they actually do love you? You have this like misconception. You got to level yourself up and get out of your environment. And the problem is that too many people are stuck in their environment and not willing to go outside of it. Because again, you got to go out of your comfort zone. Nobody wants to go out of their comfort zone. I think everybody needs to because there's so many people, and I say in the inner city, that they're so talented.
Yeah,
I think, listen, I say it all the time. I think Black America is the most talented and gifted culture, race, whatever you want to call it, in the entire country with the least work ethic. That's the problem. And if we took education as seriously as we took sports and entertainment, it's fucking game over. We run this whole entire country. But nobody wants to do that because it's such a long-term bag. Everybody wants to flex. There's no flexing in education. The flex is sports and entertainment. Because, dude, we have so much energy, infectious energy. Like, bro, and I don't want to get like on a race debate, but
because this is the end of the show.
Because the end of the show. But if you want to compare like Black America, white America, who has more energy, like infectious energy, is Black America. Go to a barbecue or picnic. Who's louder? Who's more vocal? What's more fun? Go to a black church or a white church.
Who probably got that best barbecue?
Who's got the energy? Is it the black church or the white church?
Who got the good mac and cheese?
You know what I'm saying? So like, I just wish Black America would just say, you know something? Dude, we got this. Let's take over. But instead, we're arguing with each other and flexing on each other, and we're ops.
Oh no.
But we're not ops.
I don't even think before arguing with anybody else, we still arguing with each other.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to stop
within our own. But that's but I think better than still not where it needed to be. I think in some areas, maybe segmented to industries or spaces, it's I think getting better than what it's maybe historically been in some respect. I think this younger generation, granted, I think they're not nearly as tough as the generation before them. But I think they are a lot less at each other for sure. I think there's less of sort of like the generational like just qualms or beefs that have kept even within the culture, Black culture, one another segmented, but even across cultures, the divide. I think that's improving with the next generation, like the younger generation, like your kids, my kids. So I'm hopeful for that piece. The rest, I know, has to happen inside the house.
I say it all the time. But if I say it, as a Republican, if I say that same thing, I'm demonized for it. If someone who's a Democrat from the inner city says the same thing, it's okay. So, for example, like Louis Farrakhan, everything he says, I'm like, yo, this dude is hitting bullseyes. And this guy is actually considered a Black supremacist, but everything he says, education should be number one. Keep the money in our community, number two. Two-parent household. Everything he says is conservative values that Republicans say, and not what I say too, but when I say it, it's not okay. If he says it, it's okay. And it's like...
That's because when you say it, Steve, you racist.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like this whole like hate the messenger, but not hate the messenger.
Stop being racist, Steve.
That shit's got to stop, bro. Drives me crazy.
Stop being racist, man.
Like I genuinely want best.
Maybe you get some votes if you stop being racist.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, man, do I gotta like change parties just to get in and then change it from the inside? But it just drives me crazy. It drives me crazy.
I imagine, bro. Well, thank you so much, man. Like always, bro, for taking time to come through.
Doing it again.
Yo, good luck with the pursuit. Me, again, you guys historically don't like me anyway for my anti-politics rhetoric. But for me, I think it starts in the home anyway. I choose to put my attention, my mental, all my energy into my home the best I can first.
That's all you can control.
And that's a fact. If don't we know it. So if you feel despair, you feel hopeless, know the one thing you do have literal control over is what you decide to do, how you wake up every day inside your home. Yeah. If you don't have a home, if you wake up inside a box on the street every day, you get to decide the way you wake up in that box. And by that, I mean, you get to decide the mindset you have that day. Yeah. On the street, inside your car, in the homeless shelter. I've lived in all those places. So I'm not just talking out of my behind. How we decide to show up here matters And that's why we need that free food for your soul right there.
Yeah. Well, what you just said, you can either be bitter or better. One of the two. You can't do both. You choose to be better. So last thing I'm gonna say, I promise.
That should have been the free lunch for the soul.
I know,
bitter
but I
or
got
better.
something even better to go off of that. So everyone is a victim of some sort. Most people have trauma of some sort in their life. But the problem is people now are taking victimhood and trauma, making an identity out of it. If you make an identity out of trauma being a victim, you will never get ahead. It's impossible. You're going to live in that trauma for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you can choose to be bitter or better. It's like if you have an alcoholic parent and you have 2 kids and both kids grow up and they say, hey, how come you became an alcoholic? Because my father was an alcoholic. How come you didn't become an alcoholic? Because my father was an alcoholic. So you have a choice, bitter or better, but most people choose being bitter because it's easier to be negative than positive and fight against the tide. And that's got to change. And it's all up here. That's where it starts, like you just said.
Yeah.
This is our home, right? This is where it starts. Individually, it's here, and then it spreads out.
I know that. Choose to be bitter or better.
Bitter or better.
It's free lunch, free food for your soul, y'all. Peace.
Free dinner.
Free dinner.